These are every single tip that I've learned so far in Davinci Resolve, and I wish I knew it sooner. We're gonna cover everything that I know, starting with the edit page, fusion page, color page, cause that's what most of our workflow would be. So first one, in the edit page, do you know that when you add a marker to your timeline, you can stretch a marker by holding Alt or Option key and drag it. When you add some footage, if you hold Alt or Option, it will only add the video part, but if you hold Shift, it will add the audio. If you add a keyframe and want to change the animation from linear to ease in and out, instead of opening the spline curve and do it one by one, you can select both of them and choose the middle option. It will automatically create an ease in and ease out. Or you can right click on the keyframe icon and select ease out and ease in. When you add a keyframe to your audio, instead of doing it the usual way, you can hold Alt or Option key and click on the volume line to add a keyframe and adjust the volume to fit whatever you need. If you have a lot of effects in your timeline and you cannot play back smoothly, in the project setting under Optimize Media and Render Cache, check these three options and head to Playback at the top. In the Render Cache, select User and wait until the red lines turn blue. When you have a bunch of clips stacked together and you want to move something up without affecting above, you can hold Ctrl Shift or Command Shift and drag it. It will automatically create a new track for you. When you have multiple tracks in your timeline, normally when you do a cut, it will affect everything, but you want it to affect only a particular track. Use Auto Track Selector. It will only affect the track that is selected, where you can hold Alt or Option and click this icon. It will deselect other tracks in your timeline. You can also use Alt or Option to select just the video if it's linked to the audio. You can hold Shift and scroll wheel to expand the track vertically, and hold Alt or Option to expand it horizontally. When you do a punch in, you would want to maintain the eye line. Typically, you would do a normal zoom and position that. Instead, use anchor point by clicking this transform icon and drag this middle circle to your eye level. Then no matter how much zoom, it will always maintain the eye line. When you want to create a slow motion with a 24 frame clip, use optical flow and speed warp. You will get a really smooth motion like it was shot at 120 frame, but warning, it will crash your machine down. So render that clip in place before continue doing other stuff. Whenever you want to end a song, instead of using a normal fade, use a reverb. With this method, you can end a song anywhere in your timeline. For example, if you have a song that doesn't fit your timing, you can cut the part where the beats drop. Hold Alt or Option and drag it down to copy that. Change it to compound, open it in your timeline, then copy it again, and press D to disable that, and drag the end of the audio out a couple of seconds. Then back to your main timeline. Expand the end of the compound out and add reverb. Set the room size to around 70 and set the reverb time to 3000 milliseconds. Then reduce the dry wet output by 50% and reduce the volume of the original sounds and start playing with the reverb from there. Now, there are a lot of shortcuts that will definitely improve your speed when you're editing. Try to set it on the left part of the keyboard so you don't have to lift your left hand when you're editing. First one gonna be zoom in and zoom out, which allows you to zoom your timeline. I set it to 1 and 2 on the keyboard. Split clip allows you to make a cut. I set it to B. Delete allows you to delete anything. I set it to X. Ripple delete, basically like normal delete, but also close the gap. I set it to G. Delete gaps. I set it to Shift G. Swap left and right allows you to swap your clip to the left or to the right. I set it to 3 and 4. Move up and move down allows you to move the clip up or down. I set it to R and 5. Select everything behind the playhead. I set it to A, opening timeline. Basically open the compound clip in the timeline. I set it to C, start playhead. Allows you to ripple delete part of the clip before the playhead. I set it to W, end playhead. Delete part of the clip after the playhead. I set it to E, 1 frame left and 1 frame right. I set it to 6 and 7. Show curve editor. I set it to Shift C. New bin. I set it to Ctrl Shift N. Let's move on. In the fusion page, do you know that you can set a node structure to make it work like a layer? All you need is a merge node. A merge node contains 3 inputs: yellow, green, and blue. Yellow is the background, green is the foreground, and blue is for masking. To simply put, whatever node you connect to the green one will appear as a top layer or at the front, and whatever node you connect to the yellow input will appear as a lower layer or at the back. Or if you can't remember which is which, you can hold Alt or Option and connect it. It will show the option for you. So instead of working from left to right, you just need to structure it and make it work from top to bottom, and use the merge node as a connector between each layer by connecting it to the green input of the merge node below. Then whatever thing you connect to the top merge will be on top, right? Next one. Do you know that you can change any effects pack from a single macro node to a group node? So you can make your own customization. All you need to do is you select that node, Ctrl C to copy that, then open Notepad or any text editor and paste it. At the top, change the macro operator to group operator with capital G and capital O. Then Ctrl A to select everything. Copy that back to Fusion page, then paste it. You'll get a group node version of that. In the Spline Editor, you can choose to show only the selected tool. Then it will show only the node that you selected. Whenever you want to create an animation curve, remember these 3 shortcuts. Ctrl F to fit the curve, S to make ease in and ease out, and T to adjust the amount. If you have more than 2 keyframes, you can hold Ctrl and drag the spline curve to separate the curve line. If you want to move the keyframe, you can use this time stretch at the bottom to increase the timing of the animation. If you want to create a loop, you can use this set loop at the bottom of the Spline Editor. They will create a looping curve. Do you know that if you want to create your own effects preset to use in your future projects, you can do a macro export. This will allow you to adjust any changes in your edit page. So you select everything except the media out node. Right-click on any node, then inside the macro, choose Create Macro. In the macro editor, rename it. Then whatever adjustment you select here will appear in the inspector on your edit page. For example, we want to be able to adjust the text and background color. Find the text node. Style text is the input text, fonts is the fonts, style is the style, these colors are the color bar, and so on. Then find the background node. Type is the type selection. And all of these top left and top right are the color option. Then this gradient type is when you select gradient, you can choose the type. Basically select them all. Once you have done your selection, go to File and Save As, then close it. Then open the Effects tab at the top left. Right click on the templates, select Show in Folder, then open Edit Folder and open Titles Folder. If you don't have any of this, create it with the exact naming. Edit with capital E, Titles with a capital T, and with an S. Then drag your macro file into the folder, then close the window. It will be in your FX title with all the adjustment that we just selected. When you choose a lot of macro settings, there's going to be a point where there are a lot of adjustments appearing in your inspector, so you're going to need some organized. But we're not going to cover that in this video because it's going to be too long and requires a little bit of coding skills. But if you want me to deep dive into how to properly organize the macro structure, comment down below. Let's move on. In the color page, try to create a node preset or power grade so that it can reduce the steps required to set it up. One simple way to do it, you add a text title to your timeline and change the text to whatever node you prefer to create. Let's do CST to Davinci White Gamut and to Rec 709. Then go to the color page, open the effects tab and drag the color space transform. Leave the input color space and gamma to defaults because we don't know yet. And change the output color space to Davinci White Gamut and Davinci Intermediate. Open Gallery at the top left corner, then right click and add Power Grade. The difference between a normal still and a Power Grade still is a Power Grade still allows you to use it in other projects within the same database. So on the viewer, right click and grab still. Then we go back to the edit page and change the text to 709. Back to the color page, add our input color space to Davinci White Gamut, Davinci Intermediate. Change the output of our node to Rec 09 Gamma 2.4. And grab another still. Repeat this step for the tools that you often use. Then every time you need to add a CST, you can just drag your power grade and select your input color space. When you have a bunch of clips to grade on, instead of grading each one of them one by one, do you know that you can group your clips? By selecting all the clips that you want to add to a group, it can be footage from the same camera or footage that shots on different scenes. And right click, add into a new group. And it will add 2 more pages to your workspace, which is a group pre and post clip. These 2 pages allow you to do changes that will affect every clip in the same group. So the group pre clip will take effects before the clip page, and the group post clip will take effects after the clip page. This is very important because when we do color grade our video, we want to change our log footage into our display color space, which is Rec 709, right? But we want to do any adjustment prior to that transformation. So with this group pre and post clip, we allow you to do that with a bunch of clips at the same time. We can also make any global adjustment in our group pre and post clip, then fine tune our detail for each individual footage on the clip page. For example, we can make a CST that we just created that takes our log footage into Davinci White Gamut into our group pre clip. Add another CST from Davinci White Gamut to Rec 709 in our group post clip. Then we can do some global changes, such as applying film LUTs into our group post clip. Now all the clips that are in the same group will have this film look as a base. Then we can head back to our clip page and tweak changes for each individual clip to balance the footage and shot match each of them. There are some settings that you might want to consider turning on. In your preference, under user color, check preserve node numbers when adding nodes. This will make sure that whenever adding a new node, you will add the latest number. Also check this select same node when switching clips. This will allow you to go through each clip with the same node selected. These two settings will make your grading session a lot faster, because when we color grade our footage, we want to go through each footage as fast as we can, so that our eyes will not be used to one single clip for a long time. So after you're done creating your node tree, you can select all of the clip and middle mouse click to apply this node tree to the clip selected. Then when you go through each footage to do an adjustment, you can do it really fast for each clip, and it will be sure to maintain the node. You can turn on the qualifying focus by go to the three dots at the top right of your scope window and select Display Qualifier Focus. This will allow you to point your mouse anywhere in your footage and see where it's marked in your scope. Also, you can turn on the skin line indicator in your vector scope by going into the setting and checking Show Skin Tone Indicator so that you can have a perfect skin tone every time. Do you know that when you want to qualify for something, instead of doing it the normal way, you can create an empty parallel node that doesn't connect to other nodes and add a bunch of contrast or saturation or any adjustment to make the objects that you want to qualify separate more from the others. Then add another 0 node to do the actual qualifying. Then drag a little key output of that node to your main node. This will make your qualifier much cleaner, and the contrast and saturation that you just added will not affect your video. And that's it for today. Remember to like and subscribe. If you have more tips you want to add, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy grading. Bye.